I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Bowling Green Board of Commissioners for December 16th, 2014. I invite you to stand if you'd like while Commissioner Williams leads us in our invocation.
Bow with me, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the blessings that you provided on each of us that live in this city, this state, and this country. We'd ask, dear Lord, that you be with us here this evening and give us a dose of thy divine wisdom that we may consider those things that are brought before us in a way that will be pleasing unto thee. All this we ask in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Could you join us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Hill? Here. Commissioner Waltrip?
Here.
Commissioner Williams?
Here.
Commissioner Denning?
Here.
Mayor Wilkerson?
Here. Do we have any awards or recognitions tonight?
I do.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I would like to announce that for the third year in a row, the City of Bowling Green has been acknowledged by the government finance officers for its excellence in budget presentation. I think certain plaudits go to Jeff, Aaron Ballou, our senior managers, our employees, Katie especially, who does all the fine detail work, and that's been acknowledged by the GFOA. So I thought I should.
Congratulations. Always good news to get recognized on your financial information. We'll make a comment about this last week. We had our annual Employee Service Awards. I won't read the entire list, but I will make note of four of them. Two 30-year award recipients is Beverly Fleener in Parks and Shirley Patterson in the Police Department, and two 35-year award recipients, Sharon Garman in Finance and Brenda Martin in Police, and thank them for their many years of service to the citizens of our community. Mr. DeFebo, do you have any additional
comment? It'll be a need for an executive session, no vote required.
Pursuant to KRS 61810C for discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of the city, and KRS 61810G, discussions between the city and a representative of a business entity and discussions concerning a specific proposal, if open discussions would jeopardize the siting, retention, expansion, or upgrading of the business.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip, second by Hill. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Hill?
Yes.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. Any other comments, sir?
No other comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Have approval of the minutes for the regular meeting on December 2nd, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Hill?
Yes.
Waltrip?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Wilkerson?
Yes. This is the time in the meeting when we offer the public a chance to make a comment on an item that may not be on tonight's agenda, and I understand we have someone here tonight. Ms. Miller, would you approach the microphone, please, and give us your name and address?
My name is Janice Miller, and I live at 829 Nutwood, right here in Bowling Green, and I've lived there for about 36 years. So I know the city pretty well, and I know just about what the body here, takes in and does. I would like to address something that I saw in the newspaper last night about this rate hike that's going into discussion, I guess it is, for the water and the sewer for Bowling Green Municipal Utilities. The problems that I have outlined that I saw immediately whenever I was reading that article in the paper was that one of the commissioners that's on that board made the comment that he thought that the rate hikes was reasonable. Now, I would like to point out that while it may be reasonable to one person, that is a very subjective phrase, and there is no way that it embodies, people's finances that are out here in the community. I have several areas that I'd like to for the commission to really look at before making their decisions and really weigh on how this is going to affect 50,000 plus people here in this town. And the first thing is that we've got a pretty good measurement of how many poor people are in our city by merely getting the figures on how many children in our schools are on free or reduced lunches. Now, there are even a $2 or a $3 or a $4 hike in water bills, or ever how much that is proposed, can significantly affect people that are working 3 part-time jobs with minimum wages. Those are all things. That's one part of it, and the children are definitely affected by this. In our schools in Kentucky, there are children that does not even have enough food to eat on the weekends. The only food that they get is at school through the week. So they've been preparing lunches and food to send home to these children on the weekend. So those people are going to be adversely affected, and they're even going to be more adversely affected when you extend that out for 4 years. And in the 36 years I've lived in this town, I have never seen perpetual pay hikes or drains on our pay put out by 5 people in the community extended for 4 years. That's major. Every year that a rate hike goes into effect, the next rate hike is going to add to that, and then the next one's going to add to that, and the next one's going to add to that, and it becomes cumulative over 4 years, and it's going to stay. It's going to stay there because after 4 years, it's not going to expire. It's going to stay right there. And how in the world can anybody project that we're going to need all this money 4 years from now? That, to me, that's extending it way out. I don't know how many people that's out here that are on fixed incomes. How many people are living on Social Security and no pensions? The average Social Security is about $1,000 to $1,200 a month. Now, if you keep adding these year after year after year without even any review as to whether you need them, how can it not adversely affect people out there? The other thing is that we've got people on SSI, and people that are on SSI that has not worked enough or are not able to get Social Security are living on $400 or $500 a month. How are they going to pay this? And you can say, well, maybe they're renting and it's in the rent. It still goes up. If somebody is renting and their expenses go up, they're paying the water bill or the sewer bill, and it goes up, so does the rent. So it always comes back to the consumer. The other thing that I would like to bring is that I would like to see that study that was done that recommended these raises and everything, and I'd like to really see how narrowly that it was defined for them to look and see if this was reasonable. That's something that we can look at and we can see. Another thing I can tell you about, about 35 years ago, my husband lost his job. And we had just bought our house less than a year before that. And he went down about 2/3 to unemployment on his. We were scared to death. But you know what we did? We made every payment. I kept working. It was 9 months before he got a full-time job. He worked a 20-hour-a-week job and turned it into his unemployment because that was at a time when we didn't have a great employment rate going here in Bowling Green. And he worked, he went, and he looked for a job. But it took him 9 months to get a full-time minimum wage job. And you know what we did? We put a clothesline in the backyard and we didn't use the dryer. We eat a whole lot of pinto beans and fried potatoes and cornbread. We didn't take any trips. And a whole host of other things that we didn't do. We didn't buy anything that was unnecessary. People think that they need these things. They need more money. They need this. But I'm here to tell you that the only thing that we need to survive is that we need air, and we need water, and we need food. We need shelter, and we need safety and security. And after that, everything else is a want. And I learned that whenever my husband lost his job and we had to pay our bills. I learned that that's the only needs that we have. Adversity brings it about, because I'm here to tell you that after he got a job and we got back on our feet, we took every cent that we made, that we had extra. We wasn't frivolous, and we paid that house off in 10 years. And do you know why we did it? Because we didn't want to get in that situation again. We wanted to at least have somewhere that we could live. There are people right here in this town right now that doesn't have the luxury of having a home of their own and no way to get it. And $2 or $3 don't sound like a whole lot to somebody that's got a job, makes good money, owns their own home. But it does mean something to these people out here that can't make ends meet.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Those are just points that I'd like to make. Another thing that I would really like to ask is that whenever it's possible, whenever you speak to the newspaper or to television or whoever, that instead of telling me how much that it's going to cost me on my bill, I would really like to get a cumulative average of how much money that this passage of this rate hike is going to bring to Bowling Green Municipal Utilities in the next 4 years.
I'm sure we'll be able to do that when we get to that item on the agenda. I kind of let you, I should have told you.
It's called venting.
Oh, no, that's fine. I should have asked what you're going to speak about, because
Okay.
we're kind of out of order.
Okay.
It doesn't come up till number 9 on the agenda.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your comments, and I'm sure they'll prepare some responses for your questions here in just a moment. But
Thank you very
so
much
Ms.
for
Miller.
allowing me to speak.
All right, appreciate it. Anyone else? All right, first item for consideration is second reading of ordinance BG 2014-37.
Ordinance relating to classification pay schedule. Ordinance amending the classification pay schedule G for general classified employees of the City of Bowling Green for fiscal year 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Mr. Febo?
We talked about this last month. It
Yes.
related to the reordering and restructuring of position. It takes 2 readings to put that new defined position in the right pay category. Brent's here if you'd like another vetting of it.
Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Second reading of ordinance BG 2014-38.
Ordinance amending Code of Ordinances. Ordinance amending Chapter 20, Refuse Collection of the City of Bowling Green Code of Ordinances to make changes recommended by Warren County and rename the chapter Solid Waste Collection.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Waltrip. Again, this is a second reading on refuse collection. No rate increases. We're not in charge of trash. Please call the roll.
Hill.
Yes.
Waltrip.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2014-236.
Municipal order approving the promotion of Jeffrey P. Gletz to the position of Police Sergeant in the Police Department.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Denning and second by Waltrip. Mr. Febo.
As we all know, Khalil Fletcher has retired. This created an opening for a sergeant. I would ask Doug Hawkins to come forward to put forth his nomination for promotion to this position. Doug?
Thank you, Mr. DeFebo, Mayor, and Commission. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight to bring before you my nomination for promotion to Sergeant Master Police Officer Jeff Gleitz. Before I get into the specifics about Officer Gleitz and his career, I'd like to acknowledge some folks that are with him today to help him celebrate this moment. His significant other, Laura Rogers, is here with him. His father and stepmother, George and Kim Gleitz, are here with his mother and stepfather, Nancy and Stephen Holt. And I'm sure Jeff appreciates them being here. I will, as tradition demands, require that Jeff stand up during this presentation so we can all get a good look at him. So, Jeff, if you don't mind standing up, please, sir. Jeff's been with the department since June 11th of 2007 and has proven himself during that time. Jeff's a graduate of Bowling Green High School, 1996. He has attended Western Kentucky University in the past. He is a former member of the United States Army, joined in 1998. After completing active duty, he re-enlisted in the Kentucky National Guard, for which he continues to serve to this day. He has had, during his military career, several deployments, and I'll detail those in just a moment. During his career with the Bowling Green Police Department, he has spent the vast majority of his career in patrol. He has served proudly on our critical response team, and most people would know that as a SWAT team. He is one of our finest police training officers. We rely on Jeff extensively to use his skill and knowledge to train young officers to help them become excellent officers themselves. We have a couple of officers out of pocket. Todd Porter himself is in military training right now for about several months of active duty, and so Jeff's been serving a period of time as acting sergeant, and I guess fortunate for all of us that he's already been oriented in the sergeant's role and will step from an acting position straight into that permanent position if approved tonight. Jeff did serve in the Army from 1998 to 2000. He served in the National Guard since 2000. He, during his military duty, has been deployed to Albania, to Bosnia, and to, most recently to Afghanistan. He's currently assigned as a senior range non-commissioned officer at the Wendell H. Ford Regional Training Center at the rank of Sergeant First Class or E7. As I mentioned before, he graduated from Bowling Green High School. He, like me and like some others, has become a lifelong member or a lifelong student of Western Kentucky University as he continues to work toward his degree. He has been to some specific trainings that have accentuated his skills and talents, both the National Tactical Officer Association Basic SWAT course, and he's also been trained, as I mentioned before, as a police training officer. It's always good when people tend to show themselves ahead of time as leaders, and Jeff has done that. He has been an informal leader among members of his squad and his shift and the other men and women of patrol. He is well respected by his peers and supervisors, and as part of this selection process, I seek a lot of input. I talk to a lot of first-line supervisors, to captains and majors who've had a lot of experience, both firsthand and either working with Jeff shoulder to shoulder or supervising Jeff in this case, and sought a lot of input and their wisdom when making the final decision on this promotion. And through that process, Jeff comes highly recommended from the other supervisors, the other shift commanders, and even divisional commanders. So it's without reservation that I recommend Officer Jeff Gleitz for promotion and would ask that you approve this promotion. Thank you.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
So moved. Pleasure.
Oh, we've got the motion. I thought you had a comment to make about it being a Bowling Green High graduate or something.
Third or fourth it on.
Any comments or questions?
He
Yes,
does
ma'am.
also have two others guests in the audience. His cousins, Kim Simpson and Cleve Simpson, want to recognize them. So he has a large group with him tonight, and we appreciate that.
Thank you. Congratulations, Jeff. I'm going to go ahead and applaud. We haven't even voted yet. Any other comments? Please call the roll.
Hill,
Yes.
Waltrip,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Absolutely. Thank you. Municipal Order 2014-237.
Municipal order approving the probationary appointment of Amelia L. Bowen to the position of Communications Dispatcher Supervisor in the Police Department.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Mr. Febo.
We had a vacancy occur in a dispatch supervisor position. We went out to a public solicitation. We had 10 applicants, 5 were interviewed, and from that process, Amelia Bowen was deemed to be the best candidate for the position. Amelia was with us previously and also served in this same role, but because of some family needs, left and is now here to come back to resume her stellar career. I believe Amelia's here.
Congratulations. Any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill,
Yes.
Waltrip,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Denning,
2-4.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Thank you. And you are welcome to leave if you like, to join them outside if you want. Next item is Municipal Order 2014-238.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2014-12 for Hennessy Way realignment project from Scotty's Contracting and Stone, LLC of Bowling Green, Kentucky, in the amount of $408,334.27.
So moved.
Motion by Denning, second by Hill. Mr. Febo.
Earlier, we were talking about how the city spends its money for priorities, roads, sidewalk, and stormwater. Here's validation of that prioritization system. We're here tonight to ask you to award a bid to Scotty's Contracting for $408 in some sense to build a new realignment project along Hennessy Way. As the Commission will remember, Hennessy Way was our #1 road project. As is our tradition, we tried to find and have found other partners, in this case, Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, as well as Fruit of the Loom, providing a 3-way partnership to one of our greatest roadway needs. We recommend your approval of the bid.
Thank you. If you remember, this is adding additional traffic light on Spur Road where the road splits before it gets to the bridge to provide additional access to Fruit of the Loom's entrance and the other businesses along Hennessy Way. So look forward to this traffic bottleneck hopefully being relieved somewhat. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill,
Yes.
Waltrip,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2014-239.
Municipal order approving agreement between the City of Bowling Green and Union Underwear Company Incorporated, doing business as Fruit of the Loom, related to road improvements on Hennessy Way and Interstate Drive.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Denning. Mr. Febo.
As for this mention, this is a 3-way partnership. One of our private partners is Fruit of the Loom. There's a need to align their parking lot with the new alignment of Hennessy. They have graciously come forward to offer $20,818 to make that possible. There's an agreement in your packet written and vetted by Gene. We recommend your approval.
Any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill,
Yes.
Waltrip,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. First reading of ordinance BG 2014-39.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning tracts of land containing 0.36 acre from RM4 multifamily residential to CB central business located at 701 and 707 Chestnut Street and 523 East 7th Avenue, presently owned by Flora Templeton Stewart.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip, second by Hill. Mr.
This is
Febo.
traditional zoning, items 7 and 8. Steve Hunter is here to answer any questions you have on either ordinance. Both will require a second reading.
Any comments or questions? You have the information in your packet. Please call the roll.
Hill,
Yes.
Waltrip,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. First reading of ordinance BG 2014-40.
Ordinance rezoning real estate. Ordinance rezoning a tract of land containing 0.15 acre from RM2 two-family residential to NB neighborhood business located at 935 East 11th Avenue, presently owned by Dwight Burton.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Waltrip, second by Hill. Mr. Febo.
Again, Steve is here. This has been approved by the Planning Commission, and Steve is here to answer any questions on behalf of that body.
Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Hill,
Yes.
Waltrip,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. And first reading of ordinance BG 2014-41.
Ordinance amending Code of Ordinances. Ordinance amending Chapter 23, Water and Sewer of the City of Bowling Green Code of Ordinances related to water and sewer rate adjustments as proposed by Bowling Green Municipal Utilities.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Williams, second by Hill. Mr. Febo, I think you have a
Yes.
presentation.
Mark Iverson, President, CEO of the BGMU, is here to explain the need for you to pass on rate adjustments for water and sewer. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. DeFebo. Commissioners, thank you for your time tonight. My name is Mark Iverson, General Manager for BGMU, and with me is Mike Gardner, our Water Sewer System Manager, and here to discuss most unpleasant subject, I guess, as it relates to rate adjustments. Me as an accountant and Mike as an engineer, we kind of find ourselves always talking about infrastructure. It's just kind of a default place where we find ourselves, and part of that also involves a lot of planning that goes into thinking through what does it take to run a water and sewer system. Of course, we've got an electric side and the fiber optic side of the house as well. Back 2008, 2009, we put together a financial plan for BGMU, for the Water Sewer Division. In that plan, addressed all the needs of the utility to operate the utility, and to incorporate inside of that plan, that financial plan, asset management. Part of the job that Mike has, and Mike and his crews has, is to make sure that they think forward what it takes to make sure that our water piping, our sewer piping, our two treatment facilities, our water treatment facility, our storage tanks, all the pumps and the mechanics that make the system run, maintain themselves adequately to provide good service for our customers. And also while maintaining ever-tightening regulatory restrictions from the EPA. So that asset management plan incorporates all those things and looks not only to next year's budgeting year, but many years out into the future in terms of how you deal with infrastructure, because things just don't last forever. You have to plan for their obsolescence, added capacity, and just the wear and tear. That financial plan and that asset management plan were folded together for a rate design that we presented to the BGMU board and the City Commission. About the time that came into play, unfortunately, is about the time that the recession hit. And so this particular slide shows, if you will, what BGMU is experiencing since that time. The red line is our wholesale water consumption that we sell water to the Warren County Water District. There's one treatment plant that serves BGMU's retail customers and the wholesale customers with the Warren County Water District. And so you can see historically that solid line, that's what we've experienced in terms of our sales to the Water District. The blue line is the retail sales to BGMU's retail customers. And you can see that we had a fairly steady, not dramatic growth rate between both of those two lines. That trend line was incorporated in that financial plan and that rate design some 6 years ago. And this dashed line essentially was what was in that particular plan, is what the consumption that we had seen historically that we had built into that rate design. About that time, 2009, the recession hit, and people have adjusted accordingly. And so You can see the gapping, if you will, on a wholesale basis and the gapping on a retail basis. It's just not recovered. What we operate, for the most part, is a very fixed cost business. We have some variability in terms of chemicals and power. For the most part, the debt service is already in play in terms of the plant capacity expansions we've made. Sometimes driven by capacity expansion, sometimes driven by regulation. To operate the business, if I produce 20 million gallons a day or 22 million gallons a day, the labor is still the same. Those component pieces really don't change. So this gapping has produced for us in our budgeting years from that point forward, we've had to fill the gap. And we basically have filled the gap by the time you get to the end. We've deferred a lot of capital projects and put those off, which is fine. You can do that for a period of time, but systematically for a longer period of time, we realized we're going to have to find some way to adjust that. And I'll talk about what we've done from a costing perspective, but we know that we had some work to do with respect to taking care of that.
Mark, is it okay for us to ask questions as you go along? Or you want us
Yeah,
to wait till the end?
that's fine.
With this graph that you showed, does that imply that we have room for capacity growth if the community continues to grow without?
We have two things. Yes, that does create some capacity growth with respect to additions, whether that's industrial growth or residential growth. Yes, that does gain that. Programmatically, what we are doing is we have a water loss program where we sound out piping to try to find water leaks in our system, get those fixed. That buys back plant capacity as well. So those two things collectively do defer, if you will, the need for plant capacity. But the growth still kind of will find itself. We're already 70 to 80% of current capacity. So from a design perspective, we're kind of marching on having to think through on a forward basis what our next additions are going to have to look and feel like.
Thank you.
Good question. Okay, so that asset management plan, I'll give you a couple examples of what that might look and feel like. We have 60 sewer lift stations out in our system. A lift station essentially is where gravity lines from your laterals that come from your house eventually find themselves by grade to a lower point. The lift station takes that waste up to a higher grade, and then it kind of daisy chains, if you will, and works its way down to our wastewater treatment plant for treatment. We have 60 of those on our system. They're very corrosive environments from a standpoint of what that does inside of that basin. So you got a mechanical system with lots of grit and wipes and things that bind up the impellers. So the mechanics inside those lift stations are always under a lot of duress. You have a corrosive environment that wears on the electronics. So those stations last 15 to 20 years. So if you kind of do the math, 60 divided by 15, we're looking at 3 to 4 on a systematic, regular, planned basis of lift station replacements. Now you can do a deferral, which we have done, to kind of say, well, I'm not going to do 4 this year. I'll defer and do some the next year. I just don't have the budget to do that. Well, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 12, 12 becomes 16. Time marches on. Mother Nature still puts all the damage on those particular lift stations, and so eventually, kind of like the Fram Oil commercial, pay me now, pay me later, it eventually catches up to you. So the asset management plan and the engineering tries to think forward in terms of how we systematically try to keep ahead of the wear and tear on the system. Piping does the same type of thing. We have 320 miles of water piping in our system, 280 miles of sewer piping. And some of that piping has been installed in the early part of the last century. It too just doesn't last forever. And so we already have a pipe replacement project up on Reservoir Hill, probably start the first part of January. that was installed in the 1920s. Again, these the piping is under its own set of dynamics inside the under the ground, and so we have a software that keeps up with our whole mapping, where our pipes are laid, the attributes of that pipe, the size of it, the type of material, when it was installed, what kind of work orders we've had on that piping. All that kind of factors into a pipe replacement project. So if we've got 20 to 30% of our piping that's 80 years or older, we know that that's on the list of stuff we need to do. That was all, again, folded inside of our plan. So what we're trying to do is get back to plan, essentially, with this particular piece. One last comment I guess I'd like to make, and that has to do with the EPA. We are very intentional trying to keep off of EPA's radar. They look to communities, survey communities, to see what kind of sewer system overflows that particular community is experiencing, because they look at sewer overflows, whether they're overflowing into the ground, whether they're discharging into rivers and streams. They look at that as a health hazard, and appropriately so. And so they look to systems, whether they are aggressively making sure that they're taking care of roots and grease and other obstructions and keeping up with their sewer plant, to not let that happen, or if they're just kind of clean it up, move on their way, and not really addressing the problems that a sewer system may face. So we, again, factor that into the planning to make sure that we don't find ourselves on EPA's radar screen, because being under a consent order is not a very, if you think this is hard, consent orders are extremely tough. And communities like Louisville and Lexington and Nashville that are under orders to invest billions of dollars inside of their system, and the rate shocks that come with that, is not a place you really want to be. One particular item, I guess, that I would also like to address, and that has to do with a program that BGMU has had for probably since the 1990s. It's maybe not widely known. We probably could do a better job of marketing that. And that is that we do have inside our rate design, and currently would continue to have inside our rate design, a 10% discounting for those that are low income, to make sure that those have some rate relief that's afforded to them. Now, we currently only have 18, but from an application perspective, we can address that with customers if they'd like to come in for relief inside of their rates, as long as they qualify. So we believe that to be trying to address the issue with respect to affordability. One other thing, I guess, hearing some reflection back from some of the commissioners earlier today, we have softened what was being presented previously, and so some of those rates have been stretched out over a longer period of time instead of 4 years. Same dollar effect, but just again over a longer period of time. So the numbers have softened, if you will, by $1.47 in the first year, $4.49 a month in the second year, $4.95 in the third year, $4.92 in the fourth year. So we believe we've tried to take some of that effect on the base customer charge to lessen that effect, kind of on the upfront portion of that. One last thing, and then certainly entertain any questions you might have, and that has to do with what does BGMU look for in terms of cost controls? How do we kind of keep our house in order? Because, again, I don't like to have to face you in terms of rate adjustments. Three particular things kind of I'd like to mention. One has to do with smart purchasing. So we are constantly, much like the city does, constantly in a process of looking for better ways of buying materials. We're a very capital-intensive business. So lots of long-term capital items, whether they're plants or pumps or vehicles and the like. So things that we have looked at is we've put together, we kind of actually headed up a fuel purchasing consortium that working with the city, working with Western, that we collectively get bigger bargaining power on all our fuel and diesel purchases for our vehicles. We've entered into task order contracting, which is where we can manage the risk and take that risk premium that comes by discrete projects, and we become essentially the general contractor through task order contract, and we found that to be very beneficial from a pricing perspective. And then obviously ongoing regular bidding of all our projects and chemical purchases and pole purchases and transformers. Of course, that's on the electric side. BGMU, I guess a second comment, BGMU is always under a constant regulatory environment where more is being added onto our plate. And those are unfunded, sometimes referred to as unfunded mandates. And so those come from Frankfurt, those come from Washington. So whether that's OSHA requirements that are adding more time to do setup on jobs, traffic control from the Department of Transportation, the EPA again in terms of what we have to do at the plants for treatment purposes, those get absorbed inside of what we're doing without adding staff. We just do more with less. I mentioned previously about programming, our water loss programming, our inflow and infiltration programming on the sewer side. Again, trying to buy capacity inside of our system with existing staff. We just try to do more programming to run the utility efficiently, but not with existing staff that we have. Mike kind of mentioned to me as well that in the last couple decades we have added a great number of miles of additional piping, but we're still at the same staffing level with respect to how that's maintained. So again, in that same vein of we're doing more with the existing staff that we have. And then from a perspective of employees, much like everybody else with health insurance increases and whatnot, we do a lot more cost sharing with employees than we had previously in the past. So trying to manage through those opportunities as well. Entertain any questions you might have.
Yes, sir.
Mark, you might talk a little bit about the role of Raftalis and the study itself.
Yes, sir. Raftalis is a national firm that basically concentrates, all they really do is water, sewer, and stormwater rate design for municipal utilities across the country. I suspect, Mike, they're probably in all 50 states in terms of their client representation. So they look at rate design, these very same types of issues. This isn't unique to Bowling Green, if you will, in terms of asset infrastructure and infrastructure rebuild. In fact, nationally, according to Raftalis, annual rate increases for water and sewer are about almost close to 7% annually, because systems are finding their assets that our grandparents invested in, in their generation, and we've been using, are kind of running out, and they need to be replaced. And so that's whether you're meeting EPA regulations or you're doing infrastructure rebuild, that's what systems are facing, and that's why you see those national statistics of higher rate increases.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to first say, Ms. Miller, thank you for your comments earlier tonight. But I have to take this opportunity to thank Mark and Mike today. I was with Mark for an hour and 40 minutes today, and I was like you, I had sticker shock. They have taken time. We heard you. We knew a lot of our citizens would have a hard time with these rates, but unfortunately, our pipes do need to be replaced in our city. So we have to look at both sides to make sure we do not get in a situation where any of our citizens are without water or sewer. But how can we do that in a way that's not going to harm our citizens financially, but also protect our water system? They were kind enough, originally, the plan you saw that was in the paper, it was going to cost, based on the original rates, $37.32 per year. Just the baseline rate. Now, based on what they presented to us, it's $19.68 increase. So because they've spread this out over 7 years versus just the 4 years, it is saving our taxpayers $17.64 per year. So I do appreciate them rushing around at the last minute to adjust it instead of just saying we want it this way or no way at all. So I do believe they've tried to work with us, and I do appreciate it. I wish we didn't have to do a rate increase at all. I think we all do that. But do appreciate you spreading it out and being patient for building the reserves. I know we need it, but I also know we want to help our citizens as well. So thank you all very much.
I too appreciate Ms. Miller's concerns, and you know, sometimes when you get quoted in the newspaper or on television, it's not exactly, but we're on TV, it's more exactly what you said. Sometimes it doesn't, the nuances of the way you say it or the way you mean it don't come out. I've been through a lot of rate increases in my day. I hate them. I wish we never had to go up on any rates for anything. But the unfortunate situation is, as Melinda mentioned, our infrastructure, our pipes, our facilities are wearing out. I'm beginning to wear out. I know how that works, but I don't know how to fix that either. I really don't like to see a rate increase, but I think that by BGMU taking this action now in small bites, it's better than trying to take one big bite all at once when something catastrophic might happen, and we don't want to see that. So thank you, Mark, for being flexible on with the idea of stretching this out. I think that's a good way to do it.
Any other comments or questions? I think you've explained it very well, and thank you for bringing those points.
Last question to ask him about the increases, because we got a dual message there in the paper. It was first said that it was because the people were using as much water was the reason for the rate increase, and then it's supposed to go for the infrastructure. And I would like to see something that says how much is going to actually go for infrastructure and how much is actually going to make up that difference on those lines that you showed there on that.
Well, again, what we're trying to do, it is both, really. The plan that we presented back in 08-09 had a plan for addressing asset infrastructure rebuild. When the capacity dropped out, there wasn't enough revenue to kind of stay on plan. And so we've been dealing for the last 6 years since the recession, how do we fill that gap? And so we basically have been, every budget year, deferring projects. So you can ask Mike, he's got a book of work that he's been begging me every year, I've got to get back on these plans. And Mike, just be patient. We're going to have to. We'll see if these consumption numbers come back, and they've not come back. And so that's what we're facing. So it's really, to answer your question, it's really both for us to kind of come back.
That worries me.
Well, it worries me too.
If you deferred it and deferred it and deferred it for 6 years because there's no money there, well, who's to say that if the discrepancy in the water consumption takes all of it, then we're actually deferring it again.
Mark, if you don't mind, explain why water consumption has gone down. I think that's very interesting.
It's a combination of many factors, but we're in an environment, and we see this on the electric side of the house as well. We're in an environment where citizens, both on the industrial and commercial side and on the residential side, we're talking a lot about sustainability. And so whether it's you're doing it out of the concern for the environment, whether you're doing it as a pocketbook issue, or both, that really is resonating with a lot of people. And I get it. There's nothing wrong with that. And so, but what the flip side of that is when you're selling less units in a fixed cost business, it just creates some strain in terms of, well, how do you make that work in that model? And so that's kind of what the industries, and again, I keep throwing the electric back into this, but the electric side kind of deals with the same type of thing. When you're selling less units, you have to find some manner by which you have a little bit better piece of fixed revenue recovery as opposed to something that's variable based on consumption.
Explain the appliances too.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Part of that then is what we see in our homes. So again, energy efficiency, I know I keep going back to electric, but You see it in energy efficiency in terms of more energy efficient refrigerators and dishwashing machines, but you also see it on the water sewer side in terms of your front load washing machines use half the water that a top load machine does. And somebody's made some comments, yeah, but they don't rinse this well, and so the output maybe isn't as well, but I can't address that. But so those appliances do in fact use less water, and so the consumption that we see, and you see that in other appliances, they just become better. They're designed more efficiently in terms of their energy consumption, their water consumption in this environment of sustainability. So, but it does put more pressures on. I hope that did that answer your question.
Yes, it helped me a lot. Thank you.
Another question too that's been raised. I didn't have this to start with, but I was wondering just exactly how that we are going to. I lost my train of thought here. It wasn't written down. If there is going to be any help for Bowling Green municipal utilities, or will they have to finance all of this alone? It seems insurmountable for a small electric company that serves 50 or 60,000 people can finance miles and miles of water lines and sewer lines and do it on a budget that the people can pay.
Good question. There used to be, back in the day, back in the 70s, the EPA did provide grant funding for those types of things, those types of projects. But during federal budget constraints, those days of free money from the federal government are long gone. The federal government does provide seed money that they give to the states. So through Frankfurt, the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority has a pool of money that's available at low interest rates that are available for water and sewer projects. So BGMU takes advantage of that when we can to apply for those loans to do longer term asset projects financed generally over a 20-year period with very low interest rates. So that's how the federal government tries to assist communities. So free money that's not available, but low financing is available.
Any other comments or questions?
Actually, I have just a couple. And the first one I think Mark and I talked about when we met yesterday is that I start off by telling that I want to live in a community that has an excellent water source. We hear so many times about communities that don't have that water source, or they're continually boiling water or sewage problems. And I don't want to live in a community like that. And the second part of this is that for me to vote for this, then I have to believe that BGMU is doing what they need to do to control their costs, to be more efficient, and doing everything they can to have an excellent product for all of our community. This hits, water hits everything. It hits economic development, it hits quality of life, it hits all those things. And after my conversation with Mark, I believe that they are doing the things that they need to do. I think they'll continue doing things to be as efficient as they can. And I don't like, nobody up here likes rate increases for anything, or rate adjustments for any reason. However, there comes a time where you have to realize that sometimes it's needed. And Ms. Miller, your comments about the lower income, Mark and I talked about this 10% discount and marketing it more. I can't disagree with anything that you said. However, I think for the best interest of the community, I think we need to support this. My comments.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Hill,
Mark and Mike, because you did stretch this out over 7 years where it doesn't impact our citizens as much as it did in the 4-year period of time, you do get my yes vote. Thank you.
Waltrip,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Wilkerson,
Yes. And that's the last item on the agenda, on the scheduled agenda, excuse me. I know we generally take a moment to provide a retiring commissioner with a print of Fountain Square Park, but we did that already, so I think we got something else for him this time that Commissioner Melinda Hill had prepared.
You know, we couldn't let you get away. We kind of mentioned this a little bit at the reception, Christmas reception, but Joe and I just wanted you to always remember what you did to us, for us, or against us, however you wanted to say this. But Commissioner Waltrip, I hope you will always display this with pride, and remember you did say no twice.
Two no votes for Bill and Melinda.
I will never live down voting no for these two people. I am. That's great. That's great. I wouldn't think of anything less. I do have a couple of comments, and if you don't mind, and I had to turn on my phone. I'm actually trying to be more techie and using notes on the phone. But I do want to thank my fellow board members, and I am going to take just a few minutes. I may not have this chance again to talk in this forum like this. I want to begin by thanking staff, unbelievable staff we work with. We're blessed to have the professionalism and the dedication to our community. I want to especially thank Kevin DeFebo. As chief of police, I had the guidance of a great city manager, also, actually in Charles Coates, longtime city manager here. And as a commissioner, I've had the privilege of working with a great city manager in Kevin DeFebo. And
thank you, Bill.
A lot of what the good, the positive things in our community come out of your office and your initiative, and we appreciate that very much. And I appreciate both men very much in my career and my time in Bowling Green. Just a couple of thoughts. I don't think anyone who sits up here and casts votes for issues casts votes lightly. It's an emotional roller coaster on a lot of the votes we take. Most issues that we deal with are pretty clear-cut. Most of them are. But there are some that are not. Even after being in city government for 30 years, I came into this position 4 years ago very naive and thought there were two sides to every story. There's 20, 30, 40 sides to every story. And there's validity in just about anything that somebody says. So it makes it tough. It makes it tough to make a decision. However, a friend of mine, someone I've known for a long time, Dr. Don Butler, early in my term, my first term, he gave me some advice, and he said that once you make a decision, Bill, turn that page and let it go. And for the most part, I've done that. Some, not as good. But for the most part, but just turn that page and move on, because the decision's already been made. Obviously, I thank my family, especially my wife Judy, for support. I said Friday that families coming into this just like we do, maybe more. I know some comments that's been made about me in this position, or as chief of police, I just let roll off. Well, some of my family members don't let it roll off as easily. I just leave it at that. Adam Scherz, who's a pastor of Broadway United Methodist Church, said something within the last week or so that I really took to heart. He says, "Don't take criticism to heart, and don't let applause go to your head." What a creed to live by for a lot of positions, but particularly in the government position, elected position that we're in. I thank God for all the blessings that He's granted me. They're beyond measure. Lastly, I'd like to thank the citizens. It's an honor to sit in this seat. I told somebody earlier that my first commission meeting, I was scared, I was nervous. The last commission meeting, which is tonight, I was scared, I was nervous, and every meeting in between, there's been something. And I don't mind admitting that. But it's an honor to sit here. And I'd like to thank those citizens, particularly who voted for me, but maybe more importantly, maybe that smaller group that are glad that they voted for me. I'm, again, honored. Thank everyone. Thank you for this. I will put this in a very appropriate place. I have a place in mind. I'll tell y'all after the meeting where that might end up.
We appreciate it.
Where it might end up. But again, it's been a good. It's been not all the time a positive experience. I would be lying to you if I said that. There's a lot of heartache. There's a lot of emotion. But it's been good for the most part. And I'm proud to live in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And as Mr. Coates would say many times, with that, I think I'll stop. He did, and I will.
Thank you. Congratulations, and thank you for your service. Thank you. Coming?
Well, Bill, as I said, I'm not a lender. I don't hold grudges or anything, and want you to know that. But seriously, a lot of people go through their life and through this society that we live in and never have the pleasure of coming in contact with an individual like you. As I mentioned last Friday, you are a class gentleman in every respect. You are my friend tonight, and you will be my friend until I kick the bucket. And sometime I think I'm getting ready to do that. But you're getting ready to enter an era of your life and stage that I think you're going to enjoy more than 30-some-odd years as a policeman and 4 years as a city commissioner, and that is raising those grandkids.
Exactly.
There is no price or no pictures, nothing can take the place of what you can get ready to do. And I wish you the very best. You're not getting rid of me in any kind of way because you're leaving tonight, because I'm going to wear the devil out of you. But you're my friend, and I appreciate the years that we have known each other, and that's been quite a few.
Thank you. And I appreciate so much what you're saying. I don't know, in an elected environment that we're in, literally, for their appointment to the commission, for those of you who don't know, I did vote no for specific reasons. It wasn't against Joe. It wasn't against Melinda specifically. But can you imagine doing that in this environment and still have two of your best friends voting no, but working together as we have over the last 4 years? That's unheard of. And I compliment both of you all for being. It cost me a lot of Diet Cokes initially, I have to say. But I just need to say that publicly. I think that that's a remarkable thing to happen in again, an elected environment that we find ourselves in. And I appreciate both of you very much.
And Melinda's going to have to learn how to drive now.
She will have to learn how to drive.
I'm not going there.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you again for tuning in. I want to make sure everybody understands the Bowling Green Board of Commissioners wishes you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you so much.
No vote.
We'll be going to closed session and no vote coming out.
Correct.